I'm Doug Ebenall, and I'm joined with Josh Caruso and Ben Wespi for the first episode of the Owner's Playbook.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm the founder of Omnira. I also own a couple other small businesses. I'm happy here to talk to Ben. We're trying to get some insights into our future customers and some of the problems and pain points that they have. Omnira is a simple tool that takes business data, finds what's working, finds what's not, and then gives you a solution for it. So trying to get rid of some of the stress that's associated to being a small business owner.
All right, we're joined today with Ben Wespi, who's the president and CEO of Ellington Industries. Ben, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your company?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So Ellington Industries, we do mechanical installation. We serve mechanical contractors up here in Eastern North Carolina. Mechanical installation is wrapping the pipe and duct that go into large commercial buildings for HVAC purposes or heating hot water and domestic plumbing and all sorts of stuff. So we wrap those pipes and ducts to make sure they don't sweat and make sure that energy is conserved on those systems.
That's pretty interesting, Ben. How did you get into this line of work after you retired from the Marine Corps?
Yeah, I bought it. I bought the business. So I had no background in construction or mechanical installation specifically. We were interested in finding a business in a niche industry that was growing. We found a unique opportunity where the owner was growing the business and had to step out for health reasons. So it aligned with what we were looking for, and we jumped right into it to learn a new industry and jump into a new trade. So
yeah,
That's similar to like my founder story as well. Like when I started the gym, I had no idea about running a gym or any of that stuff. But it seemed like an exciting start, and it's just interesting to see like other founders or other people that run businesses, how they kind of got into it.
Yeah, I think it's an exciting time because there's so much opportunity in learning how like you can jump into something that you know nothing about and still use all the tools that we have available now, AI and whatnot, to become an expert in that, and or at least enough of an expert to make sure you can run that business. But we were also fortunate in that we had like leadership in place, expertise in place to where I didn't need to go out and do mechanical installation. I had to run a crew and run a business, and so it's a bit more of a a skill or a skill to learn and apply to that industry rather than learning something more technical.
Yeah.
So what would you say in a typical week, how you spend all of your time?
In the construction industry, for me, it's a lot of driving. I bought this business with my wife, and she had a background in tech. She took on the CFO role, background in tech and background in banking. So took on the CFO role. She's running the administrative operations, and she's also our lead estimator. So there was a big portion of that job that would have normally been in one owner that we could split up into two. So my focus was on business development and crew management. And that meant getting out there and actually seeing all the guys every week, seeing the projects, making sure they're on schedule, meeting with customers, trying to find new customers, doing business development. But in order to get out there and see all those sites, I spent a lot of time in the car. But outside of that, is when current operations are kind of covered, then it's a lot of time spent, finding who is bidding on projects that I'm bidding on with other customers, so that I can make sure my bids are getting out to as many, potential customers as possible, or potential winners of that project as possible. And then just following up with people and, hounding people to get on bid lists, and then following up with current customers and making sure that, our estimates are on point and we're staying competitive and they're getting what they need.
I actually have a question. So with all that administrative stuff, have you been finding any tools or things that help with, I guess, just processing it all, like the follow-ups, basically all of that CRM, the customer relationship management? Like, I'm just curious, are you doing it all manually? Do you have tools?
Yeah.
Just some tips and tricks for other people that are trying to do the same thing.
So there are something like, I looked it up earlier. There's like 143 mechanical contractors in North Carolina, and some of them are they can be varying sizes, but basically my customer pool is quite small, right? Normally I'm working with anywhere from 6 to 10 customers at one time. So expanding that and like trying to find the next 2 to 5, I can get by just doing this all manually and not having to worry about automating my CRM processes. But I know it is a time suck that I should definitely implement a better CRM tool. But yeah, for now it's hey, I'm gonna go target the customer that I want to talk to, because either they work on projects that I'm already bidding on, or they work on a type of project that I want to be competitive on and I want to bid on. And so I'm gonna go and find those companies specifically using tools like just doing research with AI, ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever, and then really digging in and be like, hey, give me the contact information for the estimators, trying to call them personally. It's a manual process still.
Is that how you ended up starting to incorporate like government bids and contracts? I know you had talked about that was one like lever you used to start growing a little more.
We had been doing government contracts when we bought the business, so we had an established relationship with several of the mechanical contractors in Campbellton and Cherry Point. Some of the additional, the new customers that we've won have been through recommendations from our supplier, and then other customers that have reached out to us because they're saying, hey, look, I've only got 2 mechanical insulation contractors that are bidding my projects, and I need more. So, would you like to let's start a relationship here and start bidding on contracts. But most recently, the trend now, and a lot of the construction that's going up in the Southeast is, our data centers. And so I see a corollary between the skill set that I bring on Camp Lejeune and Cherry Point with insulators who are, trained to do a higher specification of installation, that they would be, well suited to work on data projects for a customer who might care about the quality of their work and be a little more and be willing to pay for that quality. So I figure, hey, look, we're probably competitive in that realm. So I said, all right, who is doing data center projects in the region? Let me go reach out to them directly. Let me hound them for 4 to 6 weeks and get on their bid list. But yeah, a lot of that's AI driven, and just doing the research, using those tools to do research and learn like, hey, what else are they working on, or who else is bidding on these projects, and trying to reach out to those customers as well.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds awesome to me. And I would never have thought data centers, but that makes so much sense because people don't care, like on base, if the Marines are hot. Like they're like, whatever, HVAC's not working, that's cool. But like in a data center, if everything's not working correctly and it's not efficient, like you're gonna lose servers and you're gonna lose so much valuable resources. Like all of a sudden, the quality definitely matters a lot more.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'd be surprised. Now they do care a lot more about the quality. They care about systems that are sweating all over these barracks. As you put a chill water system in with 40-degree water running through it, it's gonna sweat in North Carolina humidity. So they care about how well that installation goes on. So there's actually a higher standard or a higher spec on each job that has to be adhered to. If you take that off base, though, you look at these large like multifamily construction, they are lowest possible spec that you can put on. So lower grade or lower grade, not really lower grade materials, but materials are just way easier to put on. And aesthetically are not as pleasing, but they don't mind. You just throw some duct wrap on that and tape it, and it's good. But yeah, like you said, data centers, you need that system to run properly, right? So yeah, we'd be more competitive on that range.
What else, Doug?
Let's see. What's the most stressful recurring decision that you have to make?
So the big struggle in this industry is like the whole trick. I mean, I'm a year into this, right? But what I'm seeing is you're constantly trying to balance a crew size with your work pipeline, right? So you always need enough work ahead of you to make sure you can keep your crew employed, but you don't want to have too big of a crew and start paying people for work that doesn't need to get done, right? So it's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, but what you find is, hey, hey, it's always good to be just slightly lean on your crew size and keep that projects, keep those projects going. If you need to, you bump into overtime, you help pay those guys a bit more, and they can keep you caught up on projects. But what we find is, and especially the struggle when you're trying to grow is assessing where your customers are on those projects and when they're going to need you, because the customer's doing the same thing. They're like, hey, look, I got to be lean too. So I'm going to I've got all these projects. I'm going to bump right up to the end of my deadline. And then I'm going to hand this off to you and say, you go take care of my project. So, so the challenge that I'm constantly dealing with, it's the most stressful, is, trying to help support a customer that urgently needs me while not dropping, my support to other customers that I need to maintain support to. So, yeah, to follow up on that, because I think, the question is, all right, how do I improve this system? How do I improve that process?
Right.
I'm right now looking at project management solutions that not only help me track my current project status and how much time I'm going to need on a project based on what we estimated. I'm trying to track that automatically and not rely on the expertise and wisdom of a foreman on site. And beyond that, have a good understanding of where my customers are, and to the point where I can tell them, like, hey, look, I'm tracking that you're at this percentage completion, and if at this point, if you've finished your project, I would need X number of weeks to continue. Your deadline is X. So if you keep pushing me up to your deadline, like, you're going to have a problem, right? We're going to have a problem. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to implement those kinds of project management tools to kind of overcome that stress.
Is that where you see a lot of like money leaks and things coming from, like extra overtime or using additional tools, things
Yes.
that need, or like deadlines change or things need to be done faster?
Yes, definitely.
How do you normally overcome something like that?
Well, poorly. We are, it's a matter of having labor on. This is a problem we're currently trying to solve, right? So having enough labor on your team, being able to flex them around, trying to, plan out when the crunch time on different projects are going to coincide so that you can avoid those. In the past, there's options like, hey, bring in outside labor that you're probably going to pay more for. But that's better than the customer saying, hey, look, you're not getting it done. I'm going to bring in outside labor and I'm going to bill you for it. Right. So those are the things we want to try to avoid. That's where the big money leak can come. But yeah, overtime payments on that. And, honestly, for overtime, if we can afford it, right, and it doesn't crush our margin too much, then I'm happy to give these guys the opportunity to work overtime. Most of them are, that's a lot of extra money in their pocket if they work an extra 8 to 16 hours of overtime on any given week. So I like being able to give that opportunity back, because it's kind of a win-win. They make extra money and I get a little more done on this project in that given week. But it does get expensive, so we try to limit that. But yeah, it's a problem we're trying to solve.
Yeah, I'm thinking just like, obviously with our background in like signals intelligence and data analysis, it would just be interesting to see if there is like some kind of correlation or pattern between that you could kind of project out how that would be, like at what timeline, at what project would you be most likely to need overtime, and to kind of plan for that in terms of crew and rotation. I feel like that's something that can get solved with math.
Yeah. Definitely. And, it can also be solved manually with, like, you have, anywhere from 4 to 8 projects that are going on at any given time, right? And you'll probably have, 3 to 4 that are like larger projects. So you can kind of project out when those are going to go. And we kind of sensed this time of the year we'd probably get into this situation. But other projects, that we sense that for some projects, but not for others that were then delayed into that. So it kind of screws up your thing. But yes, I'm very interested in trying to implement automated data collection, because there's a lot of project management suites out there in the construction industry that kind of rely on a foreman to input different information. And I think the efficacy of those platforms is severely hurt by, foremen who came up through the trades that are just like, why am I putting crap on this iPad? I'll just give you a call or something.
Yeah.
That doesn't get digital. So how do I just cut out the human component of making the data digital, right? How do I just put sensors on site to look at where my progress is, and then measure and and be able to tell myself like, okay, hey, that data that nobody put into the thing, it's just like the data that was seen and collected and interpreted shows that X number of materials were installed on site, that X number of linear footage of pipe insulation was installed in this line. I'm very interested in implementing those things to try to improve that project.
Price, and you'll save you a lot of time driving around too to all these different sites, right? Like,
yes,
how,
and no.
How big of a spread does Ellington Industries have in the region?
So I have projects in Camp Lejeune. I have one project out in Clayton, which is just south of Raleigh. It's an hour and 40 minutes for me to get out there, but it's important for me to get out there. It's the data would be great, but it's not going to save me my time. One of the most valuable things that I see is just being present and showing up to those sites and showing your crew members that you are there and you are vested in what they're doing, and like look at them, shake their hands and tell them thank you, and bring them some water or something, bring them some ice in the summer.
Right.
Those kinds of things are, it's less about project management at that point and more about, crew management and company culture and morale and whatnot. So I don't think that's going to go away for me anytime soon. I have got foremen that go out and do the same thing, but they're more focused on, project status and where are we. But from my perspective, there's a premium that you get off of just being a good leader in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
I just hired a bunch of guys from a company that's having difficulty, and that company has to pay people $3 to $4 more an hour because their leadership, they have a difficult time with their leadership managing their crew. So the crew doesn't want to be there. They don't want to work for this certain guy. So they're happy to come and take a pay cut and work for me. So the driving around might actually pay it back, in the form of cheap labor.
That's actually an amazing insight, because a lot of the companies that I've been speaking to, specifically trades, they say how hard it is to keep crew, how hard it is to keep people that are like highly skilled.
Yeah.
And they always look at it as a compensation problem. But in my experience in life, it's been the same way. Like if you have a good culture, people will be invested in the company, and then will be more willing to work with you on those other costs, especially like how you're talking about, like you do overtime and stuff like that. But I agree with you that that's like a super important aspect. And so like things like that automate everything else, give you more time to kind of get out there and have face time and do the things that makes everybody happy.
There's ways you can use technology now to help with that too. Like I have a calendar with everybody's birthday in it, right? And I just hired somebody 2 weeks ago from this other, from one of these other companies, and it was his birthday on Monday, and so I gave him like a gift card. It was like the first week he started working for me. I gave him a little gift card to Amazon, and that my office administrator is tracking like, hey, what that birthday is, and so I'm gonna prepare this thing, set it up. And I gave that to him, and I texted him on his birthday and said happy birthday. And when I passed that to him at the site, he was up in a mezzanine, working, and I gave it to a coworker. I was like, hey, bring this up. And I was about to leave the site, and he calls me. He's like, hey, have you left yet? I'm like, no. He comes down, and he just shakes my hand. He's like, look, I just want to say thank you. I've been in this industry for 5 years, and nobody's ever said happy birthday to me on my birthday. I'm like,
That's awesome.
It's
like the easy things, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but you can win points there, right? So I think I have an easier time holding guys because of our background. Like we understand that in the Marine Corps, the Marines come first, right? The Marines will make sure that you accomplish the mission, but you have to take care of the Marines. And so if you take care of the crew, they will make you money. Right. But you need to show them and like demonstrate to them that you actually care about them. And I think that's something that it's not as common in other industries as it is in the military. And, it's required in the military. Right.
Yeah.
But
it's not a choice. Yeah. But
yeah. But like, leadership is an important thing. Right. And if you come up and you're a skilled worker on something like that, you don't necessarily need to be a leader to be a good plumber, a good electrician. So when you spend enough time in that industry and you get promoted into those positions, like you might not be have all the tools necessary to run a crew and manage a crew.
It's interesting you say that, because like I had super bad imposter syndrome, because obviously retired from the Marine Corps, know the Marine Corps really well, know nothing about business, know nothing about anything else, and I'm like, how am I going to do well just getting out there and starting? I think a lot of vets have that issue. Like they get out and they don't feel like they deserve to be wherever they are, that they have that of like tangible skills. But I've seen the same thing with you. Like leadership goes so far because it makes people that are experts want to help you. And I think there's a lot of people that are a lot of vets could really use that kind of advice of just like, look, trust me when I say you're going to be good. You can do this. I think there should be a lot more vet entrepreneurs, honestly, because the skill set that you get from the Marine Corps in terms of leadership is what you need to run a business, be successful. And the other skills you can hire that don't have the leadership necessarily for it.
Yes. Technical expertise you can find, right? You can hire that. And I completely agree with you. If you're a vet, you're listening to this right now. I boil down success in business. Like most of the success in business comes from two things: leadership, getting a crew to do more than you could possibly do on your own, right? Getting people to work together as a team and do more than one person can do, and creative problem solving. And when you're in the military, we end up doing a lot of creative problem solving because there's a lot of ridiculous stuff that pops up, right? But those two things, and leadership's hard to come by. So don't discount the value of that experience. Not just and I don't just mean like the good experience, but the bad experience. Like you see bad leaders in the military too. You know exactly how to not be like that, right? When you go out. So
I think that's the best learning experience is you see a lot of good examples and a lot more bad examples, and you just I'm not going to do the bad examples and I'm going to follow the good examples. And that's just what you carry forward. And that's what makes us successful, makes us able to stick around long enough to retire from the military. Those are definitely great lessons.
Cool.
If you had one tip for anybody that's thinking about starting up a business, buying a business, anything like that, regardless of whether they're a veteran or not, what would it be, Ben?
Number one, find a partner that has the skills that you don't have, or the strengths that you don't have. I'm extremely fortunate because my wife is just as entrepreneurial minded as me. But she's also like an extremely different person. So she hears me getting on the calls and like talking to people and just randomly, cold calling people and trying to drum up more business. And she's like, I could never do what you do. And then I sit there and I watch her like grind for hours on estimates and learning new things. And I'm like, I could never do what you do. So if you can find a partner that's really strong in a place where you're in an area where you're weak, that's going to go a long way. And then the other thing is, Josh, you mentioned like more vets should go into running businesses. Yes, completely agree. Know that it is not as easy as it looks. You're gonna work hard, and and it's not like there was a weird. It wasn't really a surprise to me. It's not like I didn't expect it. I just didn't really like fully internalize that. Yes, it will be difficult. So yes, it will be difficult, but you'll figure it out. You'll adapt. You'll overcome. And if you have good partners and a good team around you, then you'll succeed.
Love it.
All right, thanks, Ben. Throwing up your Ellington Industries logo and website right now. All that information is also going to be in the description.
Cool.
And then, Josh, if you want to go ahead and close this out.
Yeah, so Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time. Obviously, always love talking to you. You have great insights. For those of you listening, if you could like and subscribe this content, that would really help us get our name out there. We're trying to solve a problem that really affects a lot of small business owners. I have personal experience losing my house and my car when I was a kid because my dad ran into some of these problems that Ben was talking about today. And nobody should lose their house or their car or their childhood just because of a problem that software can fix. So we have a crowdfunding source on Stripe. If you go to our website at omnira.ai, it goes over the pricing and you can help support us, get pre-beta access, and follow the progress as it goes.
Josh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I appreciate you joining us.